let's go. Welcome back to the Inside Lines, where we talk about politics and news affecting the lives of New Jerseyans. My name is George. I'm here with
Oscar.
Oscar, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. I liked our last episode. How are you feeling?
Hey, I think it was a good start. You can't do anything unless you put everything, all the marbles in the basket and start cracking. There's a lot of things we can work on and improve, but hopefully in time we'll get better at this, or at least for me. You're good, man, but for me, I need to work on some things. But hey, that's part of growing. That's part of learning. That's a part of doing things. But hey, if I told you 2025 could be the year Republicans actually win in New Jersey, would you believe me? If you'd like to learn more, then stick around, because today I think Oscar and I will try to break it all down. But before we jump in, make sure to follow and subscribe and share this podcast with someone who you might think would find it useful. So, Oscar. So, Oscar, I like your name, by the way, because it's like Ask Oscar, right? So here, I'll be doing a lot of asking. Is New Jersey turning red? Are we a swing state?
So you asked two questions, and I've got two different answers. Is New Jersey shifting red? Yes. Is New Jersey a swing state? I don't think we're there just yet. All right, we had a great performance in 2024, but if New Jersey is a swing state, you have to call a whole bunch of other states swing states. I think we're trending red. I think that's all I need to see so far.
Okay, because a lot of people in media, especially the NJGOP, are saying we are flipping red. And I think they have some things to say with regards to that. I mean, look, in the past, New Jersey experienced double-digit losses. Last time around, last November, New Jersey narrowed the loss to 5 to 6 points. So I think that's saying something. I think Republicans are outpacing Democrats with regards to voter registration since 2021. That's saying something. I mean, these are some good signs, no?
They're great signs. Look, I think we're headed in the right direction. I think it's early to call ourselves a swing state. I want to see how the midterms go. I want to see how this year's governor's elections go, and then you can ask me after that.
Okay. No commitments yet to saying we are, but it looks like we're heading in the right direction. Do you think mail-in balloting will play a role this year?
I think so, absolutely. Now, you heard Donald Trump in 2024. He said it doesn't matter if you vote by mail, vote early, vote in person, as long as you vote. Vote as often as you can, all 4 years. We have a 4-year cycle here in New Jersey. And come out. Primaries, generals, however you can do it is a good enough vote.
But what's your take on the early voting process? I mean, people, let's see, for the November election, people started voting almost, I think, like in September, right? What's your feelings toward that?
Look, I voted early. I voted, I believe, actually the day before Election Day, the Sunday before Election Day, I should say. I think it's a great process. I think there are definitely things, maybe, September is kind of a stretch. If you're voting from November 1st to November 5th, that's one thing. Comes to mind an issue. So many issues. So many things can change from September to November. I mean, they call them October surprises for a reason.
I think one of the things that I have issue with regards to early voting is that, when you go to the polls to vote, it's just you and the machine, and you're hoping or wishing that vote actually goes to where it needs to go, and there are no middle people. But with the early voting process, you can see how it can cause a problem, because there are middle people involved in that whole process, whether you're bringing it to the ballot box and someone's picking it up from the ballot box and sending it, to where it has to go. I mean, there are 1, 2, if you're asking someone to deliver it for you, there's 1, 2, maybe 3 different stops along the way.
Look, election security is important. We agree on that. I think it's really important that our elections are safe, are secure, and are fair. And I think we did that in 2024, and we have to continue to do it in 2025. I think there's a place for mail-in voting. Do I agree with the way that it's gotten? No, but we have to win to change things. I think that's really important to remember.
I think you make a great point there. Yeah, we have to change. We have to win to actually change things. And that's what one thing one of the candidates said on stage in the Republican debate, which is where I want to kind of move next, is Bramnick said something like that, right? He said, we can say all the things that we want, but if we're not elected, we can't get anything done. So I think that's a good segue into talking about, well, if we see some sort of red wave or some sort of switch happening in New Jersey, do you think that NJGOP can harness it?
You know, I think the NJGOP is a huge organization. Okay, we've got so many counties, so many people in New Jersey, so many registered Republicans in New Jersey. I think we have to work with what we have. I think once we have a Republican governor in the governor's mansion, you're going to see the NJGOP come alive in ways that it hasn't. But like you just said, like I just said, we have to get there first, right? Now, this is the same map we saw last episode, and it's an important map to note. You know, a lot of these deep blue areas, you see them turning light blue. Some of them, in fact, flip to red. It's a sign of the tides.
Yeah, look, I think this map is a telling story of a lot of different things. I think that when I reflect, the debate is still in my head because of my view. I think it was a train wreck. I think the candidates did a poor job in actually explaining what their main issues are and why they're running for governor, and explaining that clearly to the audience and to the voters. I think the shouting matches did not help whatsoever in comparison with the Democrat debate, where everyone seemed cordial and on the same page with regards to the issues that they were concerned with. The shouting match just shows that the Republican Party is fractured. You have 4 candidates, 3 of which are, maybe 2 are the prime, candidates leading the charge. Chitterelli, you have Spadia, you have Bramnick, you have Durr. What are their flaws? Let's go through some of their flaws, because I think, no one's perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. I have many flaws that I can speak upon. But if you're running for a high position, an executive role for a state such as New Jersey, people are looking to you to be a leader of the people, a leader to execute policies or execute laws that are in favor or in the interests of the voting population. And because of the shouting matches, because of what's going on, even on social media, it doesn't inspire confidence in me. And if it doesn't inspire confidence in me, I'm sure it doesn't in a whole ton of other people as well. Do you think these candidates can do it? What's your take on Chitterelli, Spadia, Bramnick, Durr?
Well, look, I want to say I have a lot of respect for anybody who goes up on that stage and debates, right? It's not easy to do. We understand, as someone who's run and won for office, well, my opponents didn't debate me, but it's nerve-wracking. I'm sure that it is. One of the important things to note, though, is that there's people in that debate that walked away. It was nobody's best night, and I said that before, but there's people who walked away winners, and there's people who walked away losers.
So who was the loser?
Well, let's start with Ed Durr. And Ed Durr, I have had the opportunity to meet him. I think he's a good guy. I don't see a pathway to victory. He hasn't raised the money. He's not participating in the convention. He doesn't have the ground game. His entire campaign is precipitated on these grassroots efforts. Unfortunately, he doesn't have grassroots. So he's like a fish in shallow water. I can't imagine he'll last much longer. So
he's like a nice grandpa, but just because he's nice doesn't mean he's qualified to actually become governor.
Yeah, well, I think he's a good and he's a decent man. I don't see a path to victory for him.
Okay. And anyone else?
Yeah, let's again, we have to talk about electability. Senator John Bramnick, your radio host Bill Spadia, I think they're both unelectable for the same reasons, right? I think Bill Spadia is a little too far to the right for a general election. But the fact of the matter is, I think John Bramnick, it's always seemed strange to me when our Republican candidates try to run as a Democrat, because if you have the choice between a Democrat or Democrat light, a Democrat or a diet Democrat, The Democrats are going to vote for the Democrats. And our Republican base is not going to be motivated to come out and match that.
Yeah, I mean, I see the catch-22 here, right? Because a lot of these candidates, they have to win the primary in order to go to the November election. So when you're running for the primary, you need to speak towards those who, the Republicans, that and get their vote. And I see why Spadia is doing what he's doing. Bramnick, though, he's the only one who's currently a sitting elected official in government. And he's been there for quite a long time. Doesn't it make him one of the most qualified people because he's in elected office right now?
Well, I will tell you, I'll give you a really easy example. I have been wearing either glasses or contacts for most of my life. I've got contacts in today. I don't know how to make contacts. I don't know how to make glasses. But sitting in a chair for a very long time does not qualify you to do what it requires you. You know, we say the same thing about Steve Sweeney, right? He's had a record. We need to look at what he's accomplished, not just how long he's had a tenure somewhere, right?
I agree. I agree. Look, I personally am not looking for a politician who is a career politician, right? Someone like a Bramnick who's been in office for a number of years. I believe in term limits. I think that's a good thing, and maybe something we should talk about in the future as well. But like you said, just because you've been there for a very long time doesn't mean that you are qualified to be there or even in a higher office. You have to prove yourself. And how do you prove it? It's like being in corporate America, right? If you start at the bottom of corporate America and you're rising through the ranks, the only way you'll rise through the ranks is to show your performance, how well you've performed. If you haven't done anything really extraordinary, you're not going to really go up the ladder. You're just going to stay where you are. But if you've proven yourself time and time again, over and over, and management has said, look, you've done a great job for our company. You've helped us build our company. You've created wealth for our company. You've helped us create great products and services for customers of ours, clients of ours. Then you'll be promoted. And I think that applies here to Bramnick. I don't feel that he has proven himself. He's a good talker. He's funny at times, but how will he actually become an effective governor? So those Bramnick and Durr are out. You mentioned Spadia and, Chitterelli, right? I think a recent poll came out a few days ago. I don't know if it was even a Rutgers poll or Emerson poll or something, where it ranked who Republicans or who people think will win the Republican primary. I think Chitterelli was in the lead by over 20, maybe 30% over Spadia. What's your take on that?
I think Jack Chitterelli is going to win the primary. I believe it. I think that he's put in the work over and over again. I think that Bill Spadia doesn't have credits to stand on. He's run elections. He's lost elections, right? He doesn't have legislative experience. And I think he's a good guy. Again, I've met Bill Spadia. I think he's a good guy. I don't think he's right for New Jersey politically, and I don't feel comfortable. I don't think he has enough experience within the system to be able to effectively maneuver it. We are going to have to understand, at the very least, we'll have a Democratic Senate to work with. We need somebody in office who understands how to finagle with them. Because even if we have a Republican get elected and he takes the assembly with him, which I believe hopefully that he will, the Senate won't be up until a few years after that.
Look, what you said has been in my mind about Spadia for quite some time. Spadia is known, I believe, as the far right candidate. Correct? Am I correct in that analysis?
I think that's a fair,
that's a fair, right? So you can win the primary, but let's say you win in November. How will you be able to work across the aisle and get things done when you're so to the far right or even the far left of something, and then you have to work with people who are your enemies, right? Or the people who are on the other side. How are you going to convince them to work with you when you've really thrown them a lot of hate? I don't see how that's going to work. Is he a great talker? Yes. He's a radio show host. He does what we do tremendously much better than us. And he's great. He's great when you talk to him because he's smooth. He's a smooth operator. But when it comes down to executive experience, I don't know if he's qualified, to be honest. And anyone could say the right things, but when it comes down to actually doing the work, and what is one thing that shows your qualification? It's experience. What experience do you have? So that leaves Chitterelli. Do you think he is? I mean, what are his flaws?
Look, I think the number one thing is he's got a perception problem that he needs to work on, right? I think that there is a subsect of voters, and they fall into the Spadia camp, I believe, mostly, that they don't believe in him, and he has to win them back in order to unite the party.
Why don't they believe in him? Because I've seen in social media, there are people who really despise Chitterelli. And every time he posts something on social media, on X, you'll have these people tear him down, knock him down. Why do they have so much hate for this man?
Well, I think that there's a perception problem that stems from 2021, right? You had people who lost in a fair primary and proceeded to refuse to back the nominee and to trash the nominee. I think that consists. You have people in the Republican primary who are playing hardball politics, who are frankly, they're not interested in uniting the base. They think that they're going to win their way, and that's fine. I respect their ability to do that. But it hurts whoever our candidate is going to be, and it hurts our ability to unify.
I think, I'm new to politics. I mean, you're new to politics, but you've been following politics a very long time. You're a very smart young man.
I appreciate that.
And I learn a lot when I speak to you, every time I speak to you. And when I look at the Republican Party, the term fractured comes to mind all the time. There's no unity. There's like you see it in Bern County. There's organizations that are fighting with each other, that have been fighting with each other for a long period of time. And they cannot come to the meeting of the minds. And I'm just so confused in why that happens.
The fact of the matter is we have not had a Republican chief executive in the governor's mansion for 8 years now. We had 8 years of Governor Murphy, and the party is denigrated, right? We haven't had an executive to rally behind. Bergen County, the same thing. We get close, but we haven't been able to push ourselves across the line on a county executive candidate. And it causes splintering, it causes infighting, and it dries up resources, right? So people are left to scavenge for what resources are left. I think that breaks us apart as a party. Right?
So what if, let's say primary, June 10th, I believe, right, is the primary. It's over, Chitterelli wins. How does he unify the Republican Party? And how does he bring on board other members of the voting public to support him?
Well, as far as the Republican Party, I think he does it the same way he did in 21. I mean, you had Chitterelli in districts that, frankly, I don't think we could have ever won. You had Chitterelli in 37, which is the bluest district, I believe, in the state, helping our down ballot guys, regardless of their individual affiliations, because different candidates work better for different districts. He was there. He unified our down ballot candidates. And I've heard his stump speeches. I think he says something really funny. He says he was the only guy that lost that night, right? Because we did pick up a significant amount of seats with his coattails. I think he does it again, but as for the common person, I think the common person has been brought into the fold in a way that they weren't in 2021. I mean, you see the way registrations are turning. You see the way the demographics are shifting. I think the Republican Party is the people's party now. What do you think?
I had my share of working pounding the pavement, and I agree. I think there are a lot of people, especially younger people, who feel like they have been disenfranchised with what's going on with regards to politics in New Jersey and what their interests are. I think, and maybe this is something we can do as a group, as eventually if we get some people to come on board the Inside Lines train, maybe we can meet up together and do some voter registrations. I think that would be a great testament to showing people what it takes to actually get the job done, for getting people to register to vote, to flipping those who are Dems or independents to Republican. I think there's a great opportunity here in 2025 over the next, let's say, 8-9 months to work on actually doing something in this state to helping the state. So, if Chitterelli wins the primary, do you think he can win November?
I think so. I really do think so. I think if out of everyone who could win the primary, I think he's the most likely to be the general election challenger. He got close against Murphy. And look, Murphy wasn't a moderate guy. This is a race we can win. It's winnable. We have more attention we did in 21. We've got less restrictions we did in 21. We're not in a pandemic. We're not in a lockdown. We have an opportunity here. And I think you're absolutely right when you say uniting the party is the only way we're going to capitalize on it.
So what's the realistic path for him to win? I mean, these are all great talking points, but it takes action to actually get things done. So what are we? If it was up to Oscar and George to be part of Chitterelli's or whoever wins the primaries team, what is it that we have to do to help Chitterelli? Because obviously he can't do it by himself. We know he's a worker. He's gone up and down the state for the past 3 years, right? You see him everywhere. You see him on social media, which he's been everywhere, but still hasn't gotten a large percent of support, right? Like over 50%, which is something that I'm kind of like wondering too. I mean, he hasn't gotten like the overwhelming, like, yes, we support you. The Republican party supports you. So like, what does he have to do? What is it that we have to do to kind of secure a win in November?
Look, I mean, I can't speak as to the whole of Chitterelli's campaign's thinking, but I think just at us at a local level, as members of county committee, as people that are local electeds, it's our jobs to mobilize our communities, right? If every county committee person, and they do great work, we love our county committee people, but they were to go out and just mobilize in their district, we would never lose an election again, right? We have 2 people per voting district. If they focused on their voting district, turned out their voters, got their vote by mails turned in, we wouldn't lose districts.
It seems so easy, but why aren't we doing it?
Well, it's education, right? And that's why Scott Plesler is doing such a great job on the ground teaching us about this. And it's also finding good people, bringing them into the team and having them in these key locations. Like a lot of our people in Bergen County, we have older municipal chairs, we have older people on county committee, and we need, if they can't be out there, we need them to get people to go out there.
Well, or relinquish their county committee seats, right? And not continue to run again and not do anything. I think that's one of the things that I've seen. Just to be blunt, just to be straightforward, I see a lot of people who are on county committee, but I question, what are you actually doing? Why are you in that seat? And I think what you said is very pertinent to the conversation, where I believe you would like to get inspire or bring on people who are younger, right? People who are more mobile, people who are more savvy, utilizing social media and getting the word out and the message out. And that's why I think Scott Plesler is doing a tremendous job, because he is a young person, right? He is someone who is very energetic. He's great at utilizing social media and spreading the news and showing people what he is doing on a day-to-day basis. This is something I believe that we need. We need a younger person or younger group of people that others can stand behind and support. I think that's important. And in order to do that, we need those who are in power to kind of relinquish that, I think, right? Some people who are in controlling, maybe in organizations that are making backroom deals. We can't be having that anymore. We actually need to instill confidence in the younger people and in the people, so that they feel that their votes do matter and that their voices are being heard.
Well, it's important to be self-aware. You know, if you reach a point, and I'm a county committee member, and if I ever reached a point where I felt like I couldn't do the job anymore, I wasn't able to fill the responsibilities, I would give it up. I wouldn't run for re-election. But people come, you know, I've met some people who are much, much older than both of us who work very, very hard. And I met some people who are, you know, about my age or in the middle of between our 2 ages who don't work very hard at all. I think there is definitely a self-awareness.
Let's bring on some of those people and start that conversation. Mm-hmm. The people who work really hard, because the ones who are older than us, they have a lot of experience, but maybe they lack in actually being able to recruit younger people. And then there are younger people who work really hard too and need their voices heard. So maybe we should have a discussion, an open discussion. We're going to bring some of the people that you know, because I'm on county committee too, but I was just elected. So I don't really know the workings of it inside and out. But if you know people, let's bring them on and so that we can talk to them. But you know, as I look at the map, one of the things that I mentioned last episode was that blue line that's cutting New Jersey in half. And is there a way to reach out to those urban voters? Is there a way to actually get some of those blue or light blue districts into light red or red?
Yeah, well, this is actually the group where I think the president made the greatest amounts of gains. You know, this is urban voters was huge, demonstrably huge gains. I think that we need a candidate who's going to hold our margins in the suburbs, and we need a candidate who's going to be able to reach out to people. And a lot of it is just outreach, right? If you've been in a position where you're voting Democrat every year, time and time again, and nobody ever taps you to look at a different perspective, then you're not going to look at a different perspective, right? We need our people on the ground there.
How do you think that message would apply? I mean, what would that message be? Because the message to suburbia is different to the message of urban areas.
Well, I think the message to urban New Jersey is look around, right? This is what 8 years of Phil Murphy's policy has given you. This is what essential dominance at the municipal level for Democrats has given you. And if you want a better life for yourself and for your family, vote Republican.
Do you know, like, I found this in my research. Before Governor Murphy became governor, the budget was $34 billion. And over the last 7 years, it grew to $56 billion. That's crazy. Where did all that money go?
It's a great question. I think there's some uncles and cousins that got a lot richer through the Governor Murphy administration.
Like you said last time, lining their pockets, right? But I thought one thing that was funny is, you know, the Democrats are all about big government, right? Social welfare for all. And Republicans are totally opposite, less government. And one of the candidates on the Democrat side, Gottheimer, is, like you said, was probably on the wrong stage because he's touting lower taxes. How do you talk about lower taxes when money is going all over the place? I mean, the money has got to come from somewhere.
Yeah, we should get someone from the Gottheimer campaign on here to explain it to us. I don't personally get it. I think the fact of the matter is, if you want to spend less money on government, you need to have smaller government.
Exactly, right? Logically, that's the logic answer. And there's so much, and that's what I like about, if we look federally on what Trump is doing with Elon Musk with regards to Doge. I think we need to have a Doge in New Jersey. I think there's a tremendous amount of waste that's going on in New Jersey. And I'm just wondering, why aren't the assemblymen and women and the people in the Senate talking about creating some sort of organization to do some real good fact-checking and auditing on what's going on in New Jersey government?
Well, I think it might have been Assemblyman Bergen who did actually introduce a legislation to create an NJ Doge. With us being in the minority, it's going to be hard to get through, which is why it's so important that we win the governor's mansion and we win the majority in the assembly. I
mean, if Trump is an accurate testament on what living in 2025, he's only been in for just a little over a month, and look at all the things he has done in 1 month, and all the fraud and all the misuse of money that he's discovered in just 1 month, putting the right people in place to investigate.
Well, I'll tell you one thing he did very recently. I don't know how often you go into New York City, but he just killed congestion pricing, right? Which is going to be huge for our working families. And I think it's going to win us a lot of Republicans. What do you think?
I think tremendously, yes. But what's funny is, why is Governor Hochul fighting it so hard? Why is she doing that?
It was funny. Governor Hochul, I think, was one of the biggest opponents of congestion pricing until Donald Trump became an opponent with her. And then she's loved it from day one. It's polarization, right? I think congestion tax, and I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, I think there's a lot of people who couldn't pass their driver's exam who are in favor of the congestion tax. I drive. My father drives into the city for work. It's it's an unacceptable tax, right? And it's not a necessary one.
It affects your family, right? It affects your livelihood. You know, for cars, I believe it's $9, right? So you're paying a toll to go into the city. And then if you're going below 65th Street or 60th Street or whatever, you're paying another toll.
Yep.
And then you're probably paying for parking because you can't park on the street. There's no parking available when you go below that. It's tremendously crazy. It's tremendously crazy.
And I think at $9 a day, 5 days a week, 52 weeks in the year, you're looking at $2,300, $2,500
on top of the actual regular toll that you're going over the bridge or through the tunnel.
Parking, gas, it's just an extra tax on our New Jersey families who rely on New York to commute and work.
I believe the federal government will win. I just don't understand why does politics have to be so politicized? When I was running last year, I've met a lot of great people who would tell me stories of back in the day. And one of the stories was, people on different sides of the aisle will come and they will argue for their beliefs or their ideas or for the policies or laws or bills that they're fighting for. And they would fight. But after every meeting, after every council meeting or whatever it is, they would go out together and they would break bread. I thought that was amazing. Like, wow, people actually did that. Nowadays, that doesn't happen. And I wish we would get back to that place where we aren't so politicized in trying to make a point where it's so egotistical in a sense, right? It's all about me. It's all about me. And it's taking the focus away from the people that we're serving.
Yeah, look, politics is about public service. Eventually, it's about government. The problem is people let power go to their head, and they don't like losing it, and they like to wield it unilaterally without regard to their constituents. And we see that on all levels of government.
I agree. So look, I think we've talked a lot over the last 2 episodes with regards to the future of New Jersey for 2025 in the gubernatorial race. I think we have an uphill, although Trump, won the nation and has made the margin of victory for Republicans tighter in the state of New Jersey, we still have an uphill battle to climb. The gubernatorial race, I don't know. I still am not sure. I think I've narrowed it down to which candidates I think have the feasibility of moving forward. It's probably Chitterelli or Spadia at this point. I do believe and agree with you that it's probably Chitterelli that's going to win. I think he has a big battle, though, that primary victory, whoever wins, has got to bring the party together. And I hope that's something that they're thinking about tremendously with regards to what will be their game plan until the election in November. I do, though, want to talk about also the local races, the assembly races. As you know, there are assembly races in Bergen County, which covers a good amount of districts. And hopefully, maybe in the next few episodes, we'll be able to talk about that. But that being said, what's your take, your final conclusion with regards to New Jersey gubernatorial politics for 2025?
I think we're going to be ruby red this year. That's what we're going to do. I want us to win by 60.
Look, if we win, I'll buy a ruby ring for you. I'll get one for myself, and we can sport it around everywhere we go. But yeah, I hope you're correct. I think we also have a big role to play in what we need to do. So a lot of work ahead of us, Oscar.
I agree. But
I think we can make some changes and get some things done.
Yeah, well, let's get to it.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of episode 2. If you found this helpful, don't forget to follow us on Spotify, on Instagram, on X. Leave a review. Share it with someone that you think needs to hear what we're talking about. and help us spread this podcast out to the masses. Look, we're beginners. We're trying to get the word out, but at the end of the day, we both really care about what's going on in Jersey, because this is our home, and we don't want it to fail. And in order to do that, we need to get the word out on what's going on in New Jersey, and those people, get the word out about the people who are fighting for us. So until next time, thank you for watching The Inside Lines, and we'll see you next time.